my fault. Thank you for your patience. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Carl Boyd.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Suzette Couples.
Here.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Holly Deering. Brian Gaither. Mary Hickerson.
Here.
Lois Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Alan McAdoo. Commissioner Jeff Phillips. Michael Smith.
Here.
Steve Spence.
Here.
Sonia Stevenson.
Here.
Eric Tutobeni.
Here.
Looks like we have a quorum. Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes of the previous meeting?
Yes, sir, I have, and a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion. We have a motion for the minutes. Do we have a second? We have a second. Multiple seconds. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The minutes stand approved. No one on public comments. Item 3. Number 4, Cigna MMC negotiations. How do we want to do that, Ed? We're going to have Paul come up and speak to us on that.
Yes, sir, to give us an update, just to let the committee know that Cigna and MMC.
That would be MMC's.
Yeah, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic.
Thank you.
MMC has tendered a letter of termination of the contract with Cigna, and so I wanted Paul to stand up here and give us an update of where we are and what progress we're making.
Paul, if you'll introduce yourself for the record, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure will. Thank you, Mayor. Paul Huffman with Cigna Healthcare. As they mentioned, Ed wanted me to share some information with you and an update on our negotiations with Murfreesboro Medical Clinic. Over the past several months during 2024, we've been in negotiation in good faith with Murfreesboro Medical Clinic. They have an evergreen provider contract with Cigna, which means it doesn't have an end date. And they approached us several months ago for a new contract reimbursement, an increase in reimbursement to their providers. So we've been negotiating with that. Evidently, we have not come to an agreement with what they have requested and what we feel that we can agree to. And therefore, we received a letter near the end of, right at the last end of June, and from Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, stating that they intend to terminate 12/31/2024 if we can't agree to their terms. So we are working with a consultant. Murfreesboro Medical uses a consultant to negotiate with us and to meet with us. We gave a final proposal to that consultant following that letter with a small adjustment. We have not to date seen a counter proposal, so we have not received any counter proposal to our last one. We do have a meeting next week, so we were successful in keeping the conversation going. So we are intentional about keeping the lines of communication open, because everyone at Cigna wants to have Murfreesboro Medical Clinic in the network. That's advantageous for all of us, and we want to get there. So we do have a meeting next week with their leadership. I can give an update after that if it helps. The other piece of that that Ed wanted me to share is that this does not affect the Medicare Advantage population. The folks who are on Medicare that are utilizing the Cigna Medicare Advantage PPO, that right now is not impacted. That is not a part of the termination letter that we received. I will say, I'll just add that I think our intent is to not wait until the end of the year. My goal is to push this to get a decision hopefully before the end of August is my desire.
Mr. Huffman, I have a question in that regard. We experienced a little bit of this with another provider, I think, last year, didn't we, Ed?
HCA.
Yes, thank you, HCA. And we literally the clock got run down to the last few days. It takes two parties to enter into a negotiation. Does MMC also believe it's in their interest to negotiate this earlier rather than later, so we don't get to the last few days of the year before we find ourselves in a
Yes, I believe so. And the reason I can say that is because, as you know, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic is also a client of ours, just like you are. So their membership utilizes Cigna Healthcare to administer their claims. And so their anniversary is a May 1st anniversary. I do think that August, September timeframe is important to all parties involved just because of so many things that have to get done. The clock starts ticking, getting things, just as you, getting ready for open enrollment and stuff like that, and their fiscal year end and things of that nature. So I do feel that there is incentive on both parties to do that. Can't control that, but you have my commitment that I'm continuing to push both parties to stay at the table.
Thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Yes, Mary, you're recognized.
Actually, I'm just really wanting to make a statement. We go through this and have gone through this all these years. I have said on here, it's been between either the Rutherford County doctors a long time ago having a little union, for lack of better terms, of trying to make sure that the county had the best interest and wanting to get the good terms and everything like that. But just kind of reiterating, like Paul said, this is not just Rutherford County employees that would be affected. So just, it's not that they're picking on us, they're kind of picking on Cigna, but it affects a whole lot more businesses and companies and everything if MMC backs out. So I'm glad to also hear that they're still coming to the table and wanting to talk. At least they haven't totally shut us down. So I appreciate that.
And to that point, if I don't want to overinterpret what you said, but you do sound somewhat optimistic. Would that be accurate without predicting an outcome?
I'm always optimistic, so.
a very diplomatic answer, Paul. Nice. Right. Yes, that's Sonia. You're recognized.
So I know you don't have that crystal ball, so you don't know where it's going to go, but for Ed and his team, and then for each of us who select our benefits, the problem with the 12/31 separation is by that time we would have selected our options under open enrollment, which this could impact. For me personally, the majority of my physicians are at Murfreesboro Medical Center, and if they were not part of Cigna, I would have to look to see if I need to stay in the current plan that I'm in or if I need to choose something else. So I know you don't have that crystal ball, but I feel bad for Ed and his team on how they're going to explain that to everybody, too. So.
Let me let Ed speak to that if you can.
Yeah, so if I could speak to that for just a minute. And again, there's two sides to this. Cigna's trying to get us the best contracts possible to keep our premiums down as much as they can. The other side to it is MMC is trying to get the best doctors in here and pay them, a reasonable amount. And so I have met with both sides, not trying to get in the middle of negotiations. But briefly, I want to say I have expressed our concerns as far as Rutherford County is concerned, because as we get into these, as you're mentioning, open enrollment, someone might not go into the local plus because they're saying, well, if there's no contract with MMC, then I may have to go into HCA, which is not in the local plus. So for us, we're trying to do two things at one time, getting ready for open enrollment in communications. And if it works out, we throw this out, and if it doesn't work out, we have to go with this. But I have expressed to both sides in private conversations and meetings is that there's a third voice here, and that's the county employees, and that's the county taxpayers, which again affects both sides for them. And Rutherford County has always paid their bills. And so I have expressed to continue to keep those conversations open, and I have expressed that I think it is you owe it to not. You owe that to Rutherford County. You owe it to Rutherford County employees to not just close the door and say, I'm done. And like I said, Rutherford County has always paid their bills. We've always worked with MMC and Cigna, and I expect both of them to come to some type of an agreement. And I have voiced my concerns as for in representation of county employees and county taxpayers.
Thank you, Ed. Any other questions? Yes, Eric?
Yeah. So this negotiation that's going on, is it only affecting Cigna group plans, or is it also affecting the Cigna individual health plans as well?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it is only affecting the commercial group plans.
So individuals who have chosen Cigna as their insurance company won't bother them or hurt them at all?
That's correct.
It's just the group plans?
That's the only thing that was indicated in the termination letter that we received. Correct.
But of course, Cigna has group plans all across Middle Tennessee, so
Right.
I mean, it sounds like that's mutually detrimental. I mean, MMC is going to cut out a huge number of potential patients.
Correct.
But of course, Humana and Vanderbilt had that same argument last year or the year before. So
Right.
yeah, well, here's to prevailing.
Exactly.
Chairman Phillips?
I don't know how to say this. Last year, we had trouble with a very large pharmacy, Kroger. You never worked anything out. Those of us that used Kroger for 30-some-odd years could no longer use that, which was convenient with us. There was no plan B other than go to someplace else. What's plan B?
Plan B in the event that they do terminate. There's lots of plan Bs. We have seen situations where providers change their mind and come back a month or two later. We've seen where maybe Cigna has changed their mind and offered something more after the fact. Regarding provider access, we've already ran disruption or comparison models, and we do see that there is adequate coverage, outpatient, provider, primary care, and surgery center in the network in Murfreesboro without them. So yes, it would be disruption, but there is, if Plan B is worst case scenario, there's plenty of providers in the network to pick up the slack.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Lois?
Sorry about that. So, Paul, one of the things that I'm concerned about is if we go with if Cigna approves the increase that MMC is requesting, that's going to have a pretty big impact on the trends for this local area. And of course, we're completely subservient to those trends here. So has anybody done an analysis to see what the impact on the local trends would be for if we lose that? One, if we lose them, and two, if we're successful at the rate that they're requesting.
Yeah, what I can say is we have not done an analysis specifically for your membership, what it would do to your specific trend for these members here in Rutherford County. We do look at it as a whole for the whole market in this Murfreesboro-Rutherford County area, what it would do to our expected trend in 25, 26, and 27. And it is, what I can say is what is being requested would make us disadvantaged and be unaffordable for our clients. So it is an increase to trend that is, in our opinion, unacceptable. Now, there's another side of the story, I'm sure, that it's warranted. I don't know, but yes, we do that analysis. It just hasn't gotten as granular as to how it would affect your spreadsheet. Yeah. Needless to say, it does increase it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, this impacts roughly a third of our members. So,
Correct.
Means that's a pretty big bump to our individual trend that would be necessary to do to make the appropriate rate changes and things like that.
Correct.
Mary, did you have another comment, question?
Yes, please. So we know that it's affecting other Cigna plans and businesses and everything. And the state also offers a Cigna plan, and it too would be affected, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Huffman? Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you still had,
Item
still got-
number 5,
On
the divestment of 2026 Cigna Medicare Advantage. If you want to address that
Sorry.
for us, please. Thank you.
I sure will. I kind of thought I'd mention that, but I didn't. So, I mentioned Medicare Advantage not being impacted by this negotiation. Ed asked me to give a quick update. We meet on a quarterly basis, and we talk about what's coming down the road. Just wanted to make sure everyone remembers that we are still in the process of divesting our Medicare Advantage business to Healthcare Services Corp, HCSC. We still feel like that will close likely first quarter of 2025. So nothing has changed now yet. It's business as usual. It will be business as usual for 2025 and going into 26. So that is still on the table. There hasn't been any changes or updates to that. I'm still working closely with the team that manages that process, and if there are any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer or take them away.
Yes, Eric, you're recognized.
So I got a question about the Medicare Advantage individuals as well as groups. So Cigna is negotiating to, I don't know what the correct word is, but to transfer the business of the group to, but what about the individuals, the individuals who choose Cigna as their Medicare Advantage company?
That's being transferred as well.
Oh, so
Yes.
all of it is being transferred?
All of it.
And the name of the company is?
Healthcare Service Corp, HCSC.
HCSC. And have you seen what the plan for 2025 looks like? Is it going to be fairly similar?
Yeah, so
are they making major
25
changes?
it won't even be closed until 25, so nothing will change for 25 among all of our clients and customers. So whatever we're negotiating now, they will take over as is with no
Gotcha.
ability to change.
And will they, kind of like when you took over HealthSpring, same idea, is this company a regional company, a national company? How large are they?
Yeah, they are, if I recall, I believe they're the largest, what did I say? I think they are regional, and I think they do have a lot of the old Blue Cross HMO plans under their umbrella now, but it is a large, maybe private company.
Are they an FMO?
I'm sorry?
Are they a large FMO?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
But I can get you some more information. I wasn't
I'm
prepared
just
for
curious
that.
because this obviously affects what
Yeah.
I do quite a bit.
Right.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Todbini. Yeah, Ed.
Also, I want to add to that is that we are in the process of putting together RFPs. Gallagher's working with us in order to prepare for 1/1 of 2026. So we should have something put together before too long, and to try to make sure that when the RFP goes out, that it mirrors what we have now.
Any other questions for Mr. Huffman? Seeing none, thank you,
All right.
Paul.
Thank you.
Ed, number 6, financials.
Financials, the 264 fund, month of June, you can see in revenue, $2,262,882. Expenses, $2,044,381. Revenue less expenses, a positive $218,502. For the year-to-date, there's $11,519,210 in revenue. Expenses, $11,057,588. Revenue less expenditures, there's a positive $461,622. And then your totals for your fiscal year comparison, revenue, and we end the year with $22,840,138 in revenue, and expenses $22,396,227. Revenue less expenditures, a positive $443,911. For the 266 fund, for the month of June, there were no workers' comp claims for OJI, $82,294.33, which is the same total for the month. Year to date, you see workers' comp, $7,352.46. OJI, $705,215.57. Total for the year to date, $712,568.03. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith, you're recognized.
Just in case somebody pulls these up and checks, these numbers will change next week for the fiscal year totals and for June.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Elam? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. A roll call vote, please. Excuse me. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, without objection, please call the roll.
Commissioner Carl Boyd.
Yes.
Amber Brown. Suzette Couples. Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Ollie Deering. Brian Gaither. Mary Hickerson. Lois Miller. Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Yes.
Michael Smith. Steve Spence. Sonia Stevenson. Eric Tutobeni.
Thank you, Jane. We now move to item 7. Ms. Corbin.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to do the June OSHA report. In June, we had a total of 10 claims. Year to date, we've had a total of 118 claims. Our total recordables was 89, with lost day claims of 18. We've had restricted day claims of 60, and then 11 other recordables. On the injury claims, in 22 is 85, 2023 is 121, and then in 2024 is 118. On our on-the-job injury incurred dollars, in 2022 is $308,000, 2023 is $433,000, and 2024 is $716,000. And if you go to the last page, which is we're going to break down the 10 incidents. One of them is going to be at the Board of Education, 9 were at County General. Of the 9 at County General, 1 was EMS, 2 were PAWS, and 6 were from the Sheriff's Department. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you. Ed, are we going the wrong way on the on-job injury, or did I misunderstand something? Is the trend heading the wrong way?
I wouldn't say this is our best year, but I would say that, if you go back and you look at accidents, 2024, you see there's 118 compared to 121.
Exactly what I was referring to. Thank you.
You have more man hours because you've hired more people. The incurred dollars is just what the TPA says that what they think your claim is going to be. But we changed TPA, so this TPA has a more conservative, so they give the claim a larger number to put in reserve compared to what the claim actually cost you. So again, good. A shout out to my team is we stay in contact with that injured employee. Your indemnity is that person that sits at home and gets paid to be sitting at home. We work very closely with the directors and the other elected officials. They do a wonderful job getting that person back to work, even with restrictions. So what the TPA says for an average number that they use, ours usually come in a lot less because of the interaction that we have with the individual and with the directors. And so that's just a number they anticipate. But the actual dollars, if you go back to the 266 fund, you can see that we're well below that number.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions for Jane or Ed on the OSHA report?
Ed, could you explain that reserve is just that? It's a figure that was attached to that injury, but not the actual cost of that injury. So when the injury comes back, when the final bill comes back and it's less than the reserve, what happens?
So the claim gets reduced, and when it gets closed, it has to go on for a period of time. You have to leave it open for a period of time, so you won't see it adjusted in the incurred dollars anytime soon because that claim stays open. So you have that reserve number. If the person finishes their physical therapy, everything's going well, we can't just shut the claim off immediately. And they may have, from a third-party administrator standpoint, they may think this claim potentially could have to have surgery, and so they put a high number there. But you could have several $1,000s sit there until the claim gets closed.
The point is, those dollars come back to Rutherford County if they're not expended.
The unused dollars.
Right.
Yes. We don't actually put that money in their account. We just, for Michael to help him with a budgeting standpoint, is how much he needs to have to pay out if the claim goes there.
Michael?
We had. That's why I said earlier our numbers will change. We'll post reserves tomorrow or Monday, and that's why 266, 264, and 263 all change quite a bit. As of right now, they're all going to change to the good as far as our claims and judgments payable, but that money never leaves us ahead of time, just to be clear. So when we set aside money to pay that claim, it's still staying in the county coffers, and we're still earning interest on that money. So we just set it aside as a protection for the county, but it never leaves, and we have to fight to get it back. We just only pay exactly what the bill ended up being.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Seeing none, I need a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the OSHA report by Ms. Corbin, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. Item number 8, Mr. Elam, wellness update, please.
On the wellness update, you look at the bottom where you see the people that have met their goal. There's 440 who have in 2023 compared to 2024. You see 401. And what I would also draw to your attention to this, we're down a little bit, but I think that one of the most encouraging parts of this is if you go up to the first thing for annual physicals, we're up quite a bit for annual physicals, and that's the hardest part a lot of times is that 2 points. So there's a lot of people out there that haven't met their total 3 points, but it is an increase in physicals, so they may be closer to meeting that than maybe what they were last year. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Elam on the wellness update? Yes, Mary, you're recognized.
Thank you. 2 things is I think a wellness coordinator is very important for us, and I just kind of want to see where we're at with that. But another thing I want to bring up is looking at this, and out of my 72 employees, there's only 2 ladies out there. So I have 70 men, and it really, if you look at this, it's harder for a man to get his 3 points than it is for us ladies. So is there a way that we can look and see potentially if adding like a teeth cleaning and potentially an eye exam to being able to get points? Because just in talking, Melissa and I talking, your mouth and your teeth can lead to major problems if they're not taken care of. So I think if we could potentially add these 2 items, you're allowing, of course, us ladies too, because we get our teeth cleaned and we go to the eye doctor and everything, but it would just give an option for the gentleman to have 2 other ways to get points. They may or may not do a physical, but the option of my guys out there getting a flu shot to go with that physical to get number 3 is probably slim to none. My husband won't take one, so I'd imagine they won't take one. So can we look at potentially what it would do to, by adding a annual cleaning? I know most folks want them twice a year, but annual cleaning or an eye exam as potential points to be able to help the cause of being able to get it where everybody can do that.
Mr. Elam, I think you're uniquely qualified to answer that question.
So to answer your question on these wellness and where it's paid for, it's of no charge to the person. It is regulated by the federal government what you can and cannot do, and there's a list of things that would be on there. I'd say probably a year and a half ago, we went into it, looked at it pretty hard, and trying to figure out exactly what you're saying is how can we add something to it without making it more difficult for the employee, and without, if you add something to it, then you either have to decide, do you going to leave the points the same, or are you going to add additional points in order to get to the goal that they need for wellness points, and trying to find that balance. If you add something else to it, then you might get away from the annual physical. That is 2 points, to where they can either gain their 3 points without and get around the annual physical, which they can. I mean, they still have the ability here if they want to, but it's just much harder. If you add more points, and you make it more difficult for people to get their points. And so I'll go back and take another look at it and see if there's anything that's changed. Go back through the list of things that qualify for wellness at no cost to that employee, and see if anything's, again, whatever the wish is of the committee, if you want to add more points by adding that, or, what's the value of, if you want to leave it at 3 points, how's the way to get to that 3 points, and are we getting around most people doing an annual physical or something?
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Elam regarding the update wellness? Seeing none, and without objection, we will accept. We're now going to hear from Gallagher on the high deductible health plan, embeddable deductible, and HCA contribution limits, which is a mouthful.
Well, we actually, number 9, we got update on the flyers.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you were done, Mr. Elam.
Well, I was with number 8.
Oh, I do this at every meeting. I try to fly through, and, well,
I don't blame you.
number 9, Mr. Elam.
So I think Mrs. Hickerson and Ms. Stevenson, we'd brought up about the flyers and trying to come up with why some people got the flyers and some didn't. And so we did some investigation. Our hands are tied just a little bit in this, but if we can get some cooperation, we might be able to answer part of that. What we were able to find out in researching with Cigna is that they will not tell us who has, because of privacy, who has opted in and opted out of mailers and electronic notifications. But when we gave them a number of people, they said some of these people are on that opt-out list. So we put an exhibit out there to show you how to opt in. So in that exhibit, if you will ask your people, because I can't get Cigna to give me a list because of privacy, if you'll ask your people to go through that and see if they have opted out, so then I think it gets back to a postal issue, because we've sent 2 mail-outs in probably the last 60 days, and one on MDLive and then one on your points. So I don't know. Here's what I'm getting at, is if you got one of them and you didn't get the other one, then it's more of a postal problem, because you shouldn't have gotten either one if you've opted out, or if the list that's being pulled, because Cigna is the one that pays for it and sends it out for us, then we've got to zero down more on the list instead of the opt-out part.
Quick question, do we know how you opted out? Was it automatic set it opted out and you had to opt in? Or do we know how that worked?
It could have come in a very generic, on electronic opt-out, could come very generic and said unsubscribe on a Cigna email, and on the mail-outs, same thing. You could have opted out in an email on all communications, which would also be mailings and everything else.
Okay, because I'm going to go back and check because I got neither. And as I'm sitting here, I do not remember ever opting out.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't know if it was everybody opts out, you got to opt in.
Right, and if I get that information, then I know at this point it's not the opt-out part. Then I have to zero in on the mailing list and why are certain people on the mailing list, not on the mailing list. And my other question is if you used to get them all, why are you not getting them now? You know, is it because I'm kind of hung, the post office is not going to tell us stuff, and I have to actually rely on the people of who got it and who didn't get it to kind of narrow down my search.
Sonia, you're recognized.
I'm going to ask probably a odd question only because I want to make sure I understand. Because I know we can get it through our email, which is signed up whenever somebody does their open enrollment. If they have open enrollment with us, they put in their personal email or whatever email they're using, right? Am I tracking so far? So, well, you just said that Cigna wouldn't give us the list. I was going to say we could send it out. I just wonder if it would be beneficial if we sent out something through my benefits channel to those individuals who do have the county insurance to say, hey, you know, you may be missing out on some important information. Please check your account to see if you've opted in. I just wonder if maybe that would be like an easy fix or an easier fix if we, do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, and part of that option is, do we go back to Rutherford County doing the mailing themselves? Because Cigna that's part of what Cigna pays for. And so they manage the mailings and a lot of the graphic stuff for us, and part of that fee. But what I'm finding is it's handicapping me on trying to get the research because of privacy and stuff like that, and being able to determine, is it a postal issue, which, if, like Mary says, I didn't get either one, I lean more towards it's the mailing list, not a post. If she'd gotten one of them, not the other, then I would have eliminated the mailing list as being one of those. And that's kind of what I'm researching now, is to find out which direction I need to go without, spinning my wheels a lot.
Okay, I was just thinking to save you from having to go through all that effort, that if we utilize the tool that we already had, that maybe we communicated, that might be a quicker fix for you. It's the only thing I was thinking of. Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, and if there is no objection, we will accept. Now we will hear from Gallagher, item number 10. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon. I just have an information item similar to last year around the deductible situation on the high deductible health plan. The IRS every year has the ability, they don't always do it every year, but this year going into 25 and as well as going into 24, they've adjusted the individual deductible on the high deductible health plan to require it to be $3,300 for family if you are going to keep it embedded. The reason that matters is I'll give you the example of like two people in a family who are both working toward the family deductible. If I have an embedded deductible, when I hit my individual, like if my son had a surgery, he would hit his individual first, in my example, then that would count toward the family deductible instead of him us having to continue to pay for him up to the family amount. Does that make sense? That's what embedded means. So I think you're going to want to keep it embedded, and for that reason, a slight $100 adjustment for next plan year is the information item of what we were planning to do.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess one of these would be a Michael question, because the commission approved the rates and they approved the deductibles. This is an IRS regulation of which it's you really don't have a vote. I mean, it's an IRS regulation saying it's got to be done this way. So do you need a motion here to move that forward since it's an IRS regulation, or to approve it even though the county commission approved it at $100 less?
I would recommend, since we have a plan document change, it's not going to hurt to take a motion.
Last year we didn't, so it's up to y'all. Yeah.
I mean, either way, we're going to have to implement it. but it's up to you. I mean, we can
Yeah.
take a motion for
I
formality.
was just looking at it from an auditor's standpoint.
Mr. Smith, can you make sure your mic is on?
Has a little red dot, says it's on.
Okay, because it just doesn't sound like it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we conclude, Michael? Do we need a motion on this or not?
On our plan document, does this mic work?
Much better.
On our plan document, and it's, I don't have it in front of me, so does it specify the limits? Because if I remember right, what we took before budget and the commission was the actual premiums that our employees pay is what we took. But I don't remember if we
It does
took-
have the deductibles.
I think we need to, but I think it's more of a formality than anything.
Well, the chair would advise caution, so if, unless there's an objection, we will take a motion in a second on this.
I make a motion to approve the change as presented by Gallagher.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? As a point of parliament, and with abundance of caution, let's do a roll call vote on this. It may not be necessary, but I want to make sure we get it right. Is there any, if there's no objection and if there's no comment, we'll take the roll.
Carl Boyd,
Yes.
Amber Brown. Suzette Couples. Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Brian Gaither. Mary Hickerson. Lois Miller. Commissioner Jeff Phillips.
Yes.
Michael Smith. Steve Spence. Sonia Stevenson.
Yes.
Eric Tutabeni.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 11, Mr. Elam, open enrollment dates.
Open enrollment dates for active and pre-Medicare, October 4th, 2024 at noon to October 18th, 2024 at noon. Retirees, November 4th through November 8th at for 2024.
Any questions for Mr. Elam regarding the open enrollment dates? Seeing none, we'll accept. Item B, retirees.
Okay, so Chairman Carr asked me or my team to reach out to Amber and Lois for if they would be interested in being reappointed to the two members at large, and they both have accepted, and that's Mayor Carr's recommendation.
It is, and I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Mr. Tutabeni, is that a second? Or a question? Yes, we do, but you can be the second. And I would assume there will be no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Oh, we can do better than that. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Welcome aboard, I think, once again. Thank you, ladies, very much for doing this. You add value to this committee, and we appreciate it. Is there any other business? Our next meeting is August 29th, 2024, and if there is no objection, we are adjourned.